What was the main lesson that you took from all those, say, 20 years as an athlete?
I just think it is the kind of the daily discipline, right? It's like the daily discipline that, you learn over time. So I think I was a freshman in high school, so 14 years old when I learned, your attitude will determine your altitude. And it became something that I believed. And again, I was part of a school that frankly at that time was a losing program. Like we weren't a great, I would call it football powerhouse program in the state of California. And I had some great coaches and, a gentleman named Ron Short, the head coach of that program. He was the one that coined that phrase, attitude determines your altitude. Terry Logue, who's, still a friend and a man that I admire in many, many ways, was the varsity, coach. But I mean, we won a state title, right? My junior year in high school, they won another state title. 2 years later, they won several more after that. And they're still well known in the state as kind of a football, school / powerhouse in that sense. But yeah, and that was just around daily discipline, right? So you got to show up to practice. You got to be on time. You got to be in uniform in the sense of like have the right gear on, right? You got to show up and be prepared. And all the things that you can learn. I think sport is a great teacher of all things, regardless of whether you're a runner, whether you're a football player, whether you're playing, European football, what I like to refer to as soccer. Doesn't matter, right? All of those things are such great places to learn the lessons of, really discipline. And then what is required to be successful. Because if you want to play at the highest levels or you want to be one of the best teams, right, then you have to do things differently and make sacrifices that others may not be willing to make.
Mm-hmm. Are there any situations today in business where you go, oh, I know how to deal with that because I trained for this, say in football or in basketball?
Not really anymore. I mean, the time gap between, when I was still competing at a high level with, versus what I've been doing professionally for the last 25 years, give or take. I mean, a lot of time has passed and the generations have changed, right? So when we think about today's team member or employee versus what it was, then, and if anything, that might be it, right? So you say, okay, well, we're going to play this team versus that team. And it's like, well, you can't necessarily do the same game plan, even if you're running a race. And it's like, well, there's different competitors from different schools. And this guy, if you, let them run away from you, you'll never catch them versus this person. All you got to do is stay with them and then eventually they'll fade out. So you just got to kind of know who you're dealing with and adjust your strategy a little bit as time goes on. But the fundamentals are kind of always the same.
And what was the main mistake that you made in your sports career?
Well, I think, again, I wasn't coachable at times that I should have been. It's not to say I was always uncoachable, but there was just times where I would say my emotional maturity was not where it needed to be. I didn't handle situations appropriately as a good teammate or as a, player for a particular coach or whatever it might have been. And so that's where I had to really grow, right?
Were you a bit like that guy from the Bulls, Rodney?
Rodman? No.
Rodman?
No.
No.
I wasn't dyeing my hair and out running around Vegas and going crazy. I mean, he was out there doing some crazy stuff, but no, I was more like in just temperamental in practice. And if things didn't go my way, I would, visibly show frustration. I didn't have the just, self-discipline at that stage of my life to just kind of emotional maturity to kind of process challenges and again, be more solutions orientated. Whereas now that's what it's more about. So now I try to tell people, like, when you're a CEO of a company, at least at a certain scale, it's not about, I hope I don't have any problems today. Every day you're going to have a giant problem. Every day. Every single day. So the thing is, what are you going to do with it? There's no panic anymore, right? It's like, what's the problem? This and that. And immediately I just snap into what's the solution. Okay, let's get so-and-so on the phone. Let's get an email to these people. Let's figure this out. Has anyone reached out to so-and-so yet? Have we done it? And you just start going through the checklist, right? To make sure that your solutions are resolution orientated and you're trying to get there as quickly as possible, at least, in a fair and equitable way, right?
Yeah.
At least in my business.